again, and welcome to another episode of Primetime Muscle. A man whose future is so bright he has to wear shades. We're joined by the real deal, Chris Cormier.
That's what's up. How you doing, my man? You all right?
Terrick Elgindi.
I'm trying to level up with his style. I gotta admit, I was never a fan of his style. I thought he devalued our show. But after the Olympia, when so many people gave him compliments, I want to apologize to America and say that
you should.
His style
look in the camera and do it, because I don't believe you. Otherwise.
I want to apologize to America for criticizing Chris Cormier and his outfits. It enriches our show, and it has brought a lot of fans to our comments. So on behalf of the entire staff, I want to apologize to you, Chris.
Wow.
Thank
All right.
Thank you.
I'm Tim Wilkins. You know, there was another crazy compliment right around the time of the Olympia. I don't know if you caught this. Chris popped in with Jay Cutler and had a chat with him, and they played a clip of it, and I'm flipping through social media one day, and I hear Jay, and I was talking about Chris, we were in the gym last night, and I said, you cut all my weights in half so I could get my form right, and Cutler's going with that thick Boston accent, you know, Ronnie was so strong, Chris, and, you know, Dorian was so strong, you were probably the strongest guy that ever lifted weights. When you competed, you were crazy, you lifted insane weights, and I'm going, this is the guy that told me not to lift so heavy so I could get it right. And you didn't care about form, Chris. You didn't care about anything. You just come in from the club 3 o'clock in the morning and throw 600 pounds around and throw 1,000 on a leg press. And I'm going, what?
Are you sabotaging Tim Wilkins' performance in 2023?
No, I'm trying to get him right.
He's trying to get me right. I appreciate it.
Right.
No, but I was just blown away by how complimentary he was of your strength. And kudos to you for being, you know, one of the big dogs.
Hey, man, for sure, dog.
So
you already knew.
I knew. I didn't have to be reminded, but it was fun to hear Jay say it.
I know it, Jake.
So, okay. Derek Lunsford, you know, we know the story. We can't rehash it enough, but we're gonna. Big Ramy didn't make it to guest pose. He jumped on stage. Nick Walker jumped on stage. They knew Nick was in the open. They didn't know what he would bring to this year's Olympia. But Derek blew everybody's mind. And then they said, are you going to back this up at the Olympia? Now we're wondering, what part of the future of the sport in the open is Derek now that he's established himself as a top contender?
I think Derek, Tim, is, I think he's like one of the guys that just built right. He's got you don't even look at how that he used to be a 212 champion. You just look at the physique in front of you, and he got so much more room to grow. That's the funny part, is that he could be about 30 times better than what we saw on that stage. I believe that wholeheartedly.
I'm going to tell you this, and I did a live with Sean Ray, and Sean Ray eloquently mentioned, I've been second place at the Olympia. Kevin Levrone was second place. Flex Wheeler was second place. And being second place doesn't guarantee you that you're going to eventually win the Mr. Olympia. Derek has all the potential to become Mr. Olympia. But I believe it's going to be an uphill battle, because the people who he's facing, and we're talking about Hadi Choopan, he has muscle maturity, and that muscle maturity is going nowhere. It's not like Hadi is going to lose that muscle maturity. You also look at Hadi, and you can say that he was a little bit more conditioned in 2021. So that means that Hadi can go back to his 2021 conditioning with his added size and a little bit more muscle maturity of 1 year training. So Derek is looking at Hadi and saying, hey, I got to get a lot better to beat this guy. Not only that, I think some guys are coming after Derek. And we mentioned some guys like Nick Walker. Every time we mention Nick Walker, some people have some pessimistic view of Nick Walker. Well, he doesn't have the shape. Well, he doesn't have this. And it turns out the guy comes back to the Mr. Olympia and he keeps moving up. He was fifth, now he's third, and he keeps telling everybody, I'm going to be Mr. Olympia.
So I'm going to jump out here and do something that I don't normally do. A big dig on Nick was his waist. Somebody who called him brick quite a bit ended up in that bottom half, deep in the bottom half. Yeah. And so I watched those pictures as Nick dialed in his waist weeks out, and I thought, man, that is the waist of a physique competitor. He's practically classic. That guy, he did a great job dialing it in.
Yes, and Tim, when they're judging a show, they're gonna, when you hit your shot, that's what they're gonna judge, and that's what he was banking on the obvious. Like when you pose, you're going to show and keep it's in his mind on every pose. So I think that's what's going to help him along the line, is to always keep in mind keeping your gut in check and making all your flaws, a strength, or at least something that no one can pick you apart on.
Well, and you had Samson Dauda, who is not finished climbing the ranks. Andrew Jacked with an insanely good debut.
Andrew Jacked was amazing. I want to go back to the guy who's really challenging Derek. You have to look at Nick Walker. A lot of people, and I hear a lot about this on the internet, well, Nick Walker is not as aesthetically pleasing as Samson Dauda or Andrew Jacked. And some poses, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter that you have a small waist on a side chest, because everybody's waist is hidden. They're all looking in that direction, and you have the side chest. And if you look at the side chest of Nick Walker, he beats everybody on that lineup. Everybody. He hit a side chest next to Big Ramy, and he actually outmassed Big Ramy. It was incredible. Side triceps, if he controls his abdominal section, you're not seeing how large his waist is because it's right here. And he's hitting his side triceps, controlling his abdominal section. Even his back double biceps, he has such, great back. It's large. You don't see, his waist is big. So a lot of people talk about, he's got a small waist, he's got a big waist. Some poses, they do not benefit people with a small waist.
Yeah, but when you got like Derek, and Derek is just now coming into his own, I just think we're going to see
let me be the king of segues. It would be a waste if we didn't use this video wall. So let's talk about Derek, Chris. Dial in what he showed us and what his future is if he brings up some parts.
Well, I'm going to start from the legs. The legs that I saw when he was in Pittsburgh they had way more promise than what he showed here. When he came up, he has the genetic potential to have fully striated quadriceps. So if your quad is fully striated from top to bottom, the teardrops, got the sartorius fully developed. Like, this body is not even fully developed. Like, he can show all of the detail throughout here. He's got the small waist, like everyone says, but as he gets older, as he gets more mature, you'll see more definition in the oblique area, just like the champ showed. Back double bicep, I thought, was somewhat one of the best ones up there, as far as lean. These abs right here are baby abs.
Derek, let's freeze that if we can, Aaron. Maybe even roll that back just a touch, because there was 2 ab shots, and you can walk us through that, Chris.
Yeah. So even right here, that chest could be fuller, those legs can be better, but the abs, if you get Derek, if you train your abs correctly, you can be more on the lines of Hadi had. Hadi had the best abs in the show.
Tim, we're not saying this guy is not awesome. He is awesome, and he's going to be battling.
Right on that ab shot. Stop on that ab shot.
But it's not like Derek is going to show up at the 2023 Mr. Olympia with the same package and people are just going to hand him the sand out. No. When he hits this abdominals and thighs, like Chris said, he's going to have Hadi Choopan right next to him, who's been doing abs for about 25 years in the deserts of Persia, okay?
Right.
So, and then on this side, he's going to have Nick Walker, who also has great abs. So Derek is a very committed man. He's on a mission, but it's not going to be a walk in the park. When Flex took second, Sean, Kevin Levrone, a lot of people said, well, they're the next one coming, and he never did. Derek needs to be aware of history and say, I got to keep fighting just as hard as I have in the past.
Yeah, so if you put some striations across that chest, just like Hadi had, all that stuff's going to change the game really fast. So he has some, a lot to work on. But the things that I just mentioned, that's a good 30% more than what he brought to this show.
Well, guys, here's something.
His posing. Don't forget the posing.
Arnold talked about, you can't spot increase any more than you can spot reduce. He said if you're going to try to make your chest bigger, your delts and your tris are going to get bigger. So if you're overpowering in an area, but can't he build his legs on par with his upper body without throwing things out of proportion?
Yes, and yes. I think so. I know so. I think this kid is, like I said, 30% more in this kid, that's going to be the champion of the world.
And, you also take in consideration, now we're talking about him having a little bit more separation in some areas, getting a little bit more of the chest. All this stuff needs to come up without the waist getting a little bit wider.
Right.
Because then he starts losing the impact. Now, like we said with Nick Walker, bodybuilding is not about striated glutes. Whoever has the striated glutes wins the show. Bodybuilding is not about whoever has the small waist wins the show. Bodybuilding is a combination of factors, and those factors going to play in every single pose. Derek is incredible from the back, and he dominated that back double biceps. But in the abdominals and thighs here, he lost convincingly to Hadi and possibly to Nick Walker on this pose.
Let's roll that forward, but you know as much because you were judging and you were part of this process. It was what, between 5 points night to night?
I never had Derek in first. I always had Hadi Choopan winning. And one of the things that got me to say Hadi Choopan is winning the show is when I saw the abs and thighs, when I saw some of the separation on the chest and everything, Hadi just dominated from the front. And even from the side poses, even though Derek looked incredible. The poses that Derek beat Hadi were clearly the back double biceps and possibly the back lat spread. But that's not enough. You're right, Chris, because, Hadi had that thickness.
Hadi got that thickness.
You're talking about winning just one pose against the champ. So he needs to put on work, and he's committed. He's a beast. He's going to do it. But don't take anything for granted. Look at Sean Ray, Kevin Levrone, Flex Wheeler. They took second, and it never happened to them.
And don't act like I'm not being harsh on the guy, because if you're going to show me all this graininess here, goddamn boy, you better show me the graininess right here, because the quad's got to be there too. Don't give me striated glutes and not striated legs. Come on now, Derek. Come on.
Well, future-wise, then that's what we're talking about here. We know he's got a lot of room to grow. We know he's very young, that muscle maturity. He went up from the 212s to, 25 pounds for his stage weight? You're not going to bring hardness to that much increase year over year, right, Chris?
That's right. Like I say, when you wake up that morning of the show, that tells all, but your preparation, getting ready for the show, the amount of posing you're putting in, the amount of work you're putting behind your training, your diet, your discipline, that's what's all going to make you a champion.
Tim, is Derek Lunsford the future? Yes.
Yes.
But he's not by himself in that bus. There's a lot of guys such as Nick Walker, Andrew Jack, and Samson Dauda. There's a lot of guys in that bus. And Hadi Choopan is driving that bus, and I don't think he has any intention of leaving that bus anytime soon.
Is Crizzo in that bus?
Well, that's another topic. That's another topic.
For a later segment today, as a matter of fact.
Yeah.
Good segue. So what we're going to do is we're going to take a break, and we'll come back, and we're going to be discussing more of that top 5 and some people that didn't quite make it but still had a great showing when we come back. All right, there were a lot of guys that made their debuts, had big performances, some not so big, but one guy really stood out, and I'll tell you when he stood out at the press conference. When Andrew Jack walked out on that stage and stood next to the guys they already had out there, Hadi, Brandon, Derek Lunsford, everybody kind of gasped, well, everybody around me, and he just looked big.
Tim, he's a freaking human specimen. Chris and I, after he won Texas, we did a little bit breaking news, and we talked about Andrew Jack. And I had not seen him personally. Chris had seen him, and Chris told me, Terrick, he's a different guy. I talked to a few judges over the phone that were in Texas, and they're like, Terrick, he's a different guy. But I'm always skeptical. I'm like, oh, okay, let's wait and see. When I saw that guy backstage without his shirt, without his pants, I said to myself, this is something that we have never seen before. He is different than anything we've seen before. And like we were talking about Derek, he's in that bus. Andrew Jack is in that bus, and he barely fits in.
Yeah, Tim, I just think, I mean, that's when you see someone like that, you're like, man, that's a grown-ass man right there.
Those were my thoughts, grown-ass man.
Grown-ass man. And, you know, just to see someone of that height and not be hampered with the fact that he's tall and got these long limbs to fill out this muscle, that should tell you something right there. It's going to be a force to reckon with. And, you know, doing the three-quarter back, it was like, you know, he's taking up all this space when he's posing and stuff. I was just really impressed with that, and I could see some great things happening for this guy.
You know, we've only had a few of those. Guys over 6 foot, 6'1", that really filled out.
Paul Dillette,
Cedric.
Yeah.
Wasn't Tony Freeman was about 6'1", 6'2", Gunter Schlierkamp.
Yeah.
There's only been a few.
Well, I gotta put him. You know, I don't think Gunter had the genetics as Cedric or Andrew Jacked. I think Andrew Jacked is as genetically gifted, if not more genetically gifted than Cedric McMillan. When Cedric McMillan turned pro in 2009 at the Nationals, he really impressed the hell out of us, and a lot of people were talking about the next Lee Haney. And I love Cedric. He had an amazing career. He was Arnold Schwarzenegger's favorite bodybuilder. But I'm going to make a statement right here. I believe Andrew Jacked is actually more genetically gifted than Cedric McMillan, than a lot of these guys. And I'm going to tell you, a lot of people think that Sergio Oliva was the most genetically gifted bodybuilder along with Flex Wheeler. If this guy fulfills his potential, we're talking about him joining that club.
On the Sandow.
Yes.
Got that name inscribed there.
This guy is good. I love Derek Lunsford. He's going to be battling for the Olympia. Nick Walker is an undeniable force. Hadi Chupin is incredible. But what's coming in the back of that bus, Tim, is a real special thing.
Well, let's pull the bus up to the yard here, fellas, and take a look at his individual routine. Like, Chris, walk us through, because I did love all that size and all that length. He filled
like,
this. Woo!
Just coming out, I was like, damn! Look at this shot.
Yeah!
That shot at the show was very, very impressive. I loved it. Coming up, you know, with some different poses that you're not seeing every day, especially with someone of his stature. Yeah, so you're seeing, like, at the show, you're seeing, like, cannonballs and bumps and lumps. And
he's artistic.
Yeah, and the posing was very nice. And just to see a tall guy, like, and this is, like, just the tip of the iceberg, guys. That's what I'm saying with this guy. He's very raw still, but you can see the championship pedigree. You can see all he has to offer the sport and the world. Like, we haven't seen something like this with a guy this tall.
Well, Chris, arms aren't the problem. We're looking at maybe, okay, of course, some back width, but go down to the legs. We need some outer quad sweep. We need some hams, but these are all doable things.
Yeah, this is totally doable. Oh yeah, he's just finding out the ways to train, just finding out the ways to present his body and show it off this fabulous physique. I mean, look at a three-quarter back. I mean, you can bring that in a little bit tighter, but like I say, he's working on everything right now. And think about this, he didn't really have an off season to build. There was something from show to show to show to show, you know, since he got to the IFBB Pro League. So, yeah, so I think it's awesome what he's doing, and he just got so much potential. I just can't wait to see the rest of it.
What, Judge, dial us through some of this.
You know, genetic marble. He knows he has more tools to work than most competitors. He's got legs. One of his downsides is the back. He needs to fill up a back. And I talked to a few guys. He has the potential, because you see the large clavicle bones. You know, he has the potential in a few years. We're not talking about 1 or 2 years, but we're talking about 4 or 5 years. If he hits that back hard, we're talking about a second coming of Joe Stubbs, because he has all this space to grow. All he needs, he gets a guy like Chris Cormier and say, guys, let's work out this back, you know, twice a week and make this happen. So if he gets a Joe Stubbs kind of back, it's game over, because then you're putting him in between Derek Lunsford, Nick Walker, Hadi Choopan, and some of these other guys coming. He's going to look so different. He's going to look more aesthetically pleasing. He's going to look impressive, and he's going to dominate that lineup. This guy is freaking dangerous.
Now, Chris, if he goes into a back double by again, which I'd love to see, please do. If not, it was before. Oh, nope, we're going to spin. Those arms, we're going to, God, the miracle of technology.
Come back to the back. Look at that back.
Look at that back. Now, okay, mid-back, he has some striations.
And the thing is, though,
look at that.
This is like still under where he's going to be. He's going to be way bigger, and everybody knows this area in here is just already etched out when you know, on his frame. So, I mean, just build all around this physique, and you're going to have trouble for anybody.
Okay, do you see that mid-low back? You talk about this all the time, how this is just missing from a lot of today's athletes. And not only is it developed, but he's already got some little rivulets and striations and little bumps and lumps in there.
And taking care of that body along the way, that's what's going to be very important for him. Don't do anything crazy. Don't do anything.
Don't rush the process. We'll get to that.
No crazy injections. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Because Chris wants to talk about this. He's very passionate.
We'll talk about this in the future.
Okay.
We got this all lined up.
Chris has been holding on for a long time. This is the Nigerians are coming. Andrew Jack.
Oh, yeah.
Blessing, Samson Dauda, Quentin Beastwood. These Nigerian guys are genetically gifted, and they're coming to dominate the Olympia stage. Don't even say you're also Nigerian. We all know.
Everyone knows that I have Nigerian blood.
Don't even say it.
Everyone knows.
Don't
you know this, right?
say it.
You better check
Don't even say it. You're Nigerian.
You better check my bloodlines.
We all know you're from Bell Garden, California.
You better check my bloodlines.
Sure. We all know Broderick is a Nigerian.
I got Nigerian blood. I have a comeback in me.
Let's roll this forward, and maybe we'll get back to another couple side. But when he went into his back double by, his triceps hung like they were lats. They were just massive. Look at that. Man. Look at that. That's not a horseshoe. That's half a horse.
But also the poise that he's showing from pose to pose. You know, that's saying something for someone. This is his first Olympia, his first time on the biggest stage in the world, and man, the swag.
How nervous were you? First Olympia or two? How nervous were you?
I was scared. I mean, I had guys coming around the stage, and I'm just like, oh man, that's Dorian coming right now. Like, oh man, and they outweighed me by 20, 30 pounds. It was frightening.
Look at this. Look at the chest arm combination
all
with the
area.
Abs, the flaring quads. This is pure beauty, Tim.
So 1% leaner, he's a different beast.
Yeah, but
10
also
pounds bigger.
Just bend his leg a little bit, and you got a whole nother dimension of the quads that he's not showing just by keeping that leg straight. So something like that, I mean, is going to be all worked out in the future, and I'm sure he's going to be back with a vengeance, going for that title.
Let's roll that forward just a touch, see what else we posed, because this was they did one of the splits. Big man's going to the floor.
Can you do the splits?
I would die if I tried to do that. I would die. Look at that. This guy's bringing something different.
I would have to have the bath mat would scoot out from underneath me coming out of the shower. I'd probably never get up.
I mean, you know, a lot of us talk about, we criticize, they're not posing well, they're not doing. This is impressive. This is an athlete who has a lot of muscle, but is also displaying flexibility. This is the direction we want to go. These competitors, they're phenomenal, not only in having muscle, but they have great cardiovascular. I know he's a martial artist, and all this flexibility. Look at this. This is beautiful.
Yeah, absolutely beautiful. Look at the peaks on those biceps, guys.
Yeah, he's bringing it. He's bringing it. Keep it rolling so we can see the beauty unfold.
There you go. Let's clap. That's a beautiful
comparison. Yeah.
Andrew Jack.
All right, baby, we see you.
Andrew Jacked.
We see you.
He's a monster. Be ready.
So we had to
be battling.
We had a couple other debuts at this year's Olympia, and we're going to cover one more that was really highly anticipated, of a guy that went straight from another league, got his pro card, and went straight to the Olympia after a win. And we'll talk about him when we come right back.
You diet down, train hard, and supplement smart for months. When the time comes to step on stage, don't leave your tan to chance. Go with the pros. Pro Tan. #1 worldwide since 1987 and the official sponsor of the Olympia for the last 15 years. Don't step on stage without it. Pro Tan.
All right, we're back on Primetime Muscle. There was another big debut at the Olympia this year, 2022, and it is Michael Krizo. And he moved from what semi-pro European league?
He was at another federation for many years, and he was very dominant. He didn't really have great deal of competition. He had Good Oviedo there competing with him, but he's a little bit older and he's bigger and superior. And then he comes to the IFBB Pro League. He wants to play against the best competitors in the world. He conquered his qualification fairly easy. He did one pro show, qualified for the Olympia, and there was huge expectations. When I saw him at check-ins, I was overwhelmed by his sheer size. Tim, he does not fit in a chair. His arms are humongous. People don't grasp the size of this freaking guy. He's huge, 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 huge. A lot of times you see bodybuilders on stage and the stage shows a lot of stuff, but it doesn't do justice of how big these guys are. He was bar none bigger than Big Ramy back at check-ins. Andrew Jack, he was massive.
Press conference. Okay, a lot of guys stay covered up. You know, Brandon Curry isn't, not only is he covered up looking fly in some expensive suit with a $3,000 tote bag, there's guys in t-shirts and sweats, but hoodies. This guy's the only one that walked out with a tank top on, saying, you want to go? Oh, we'll go.
Yes, I was impressed with this guy. I know, everyone has something to work on. He has flaws himself. But the sheer size and mass, I was just like, damn! I was like, whoa.
But grand scheme, guys, Chris especially, it wasn't unconditioned mass. It wasn't just, lumps of round, unconditioned, unstriated muscle.
Structurally wise, he's not Andrew Jacked or Simpson Dowd in terms of structure. He has great body parts, such as his arms. He hits that front double biceps. His back needs to be better because as I was judging the event, he hit a back double biceps right next to Rafael Brandão. And Rafael Brandão is a lot smaller than him, and he lost that pose for lack of conditioning and lack of development. He needs to win those matchups against some of these smaller guys. What Michael Krizo needs to take in consideration is this. Nick Walker, who has, not similar structure, but the same challenges in terms of his lines, is placing third. What is he doing that I need to do? And it is posing, it is conditioning, and I think this guy is on the right track.
Well, Terrick, you're right with all that. He has these things that he needs to work on, for sure. And the one thing about him that I got to say is he is just raw and impressive, though. He's impressive. When he hit those shots, you go like, damn.
Well, let's do what we do, Chris. Let's pick at him. So we're going to put it up here on our big go-to board and tell us. Ooh.
Yeah. So these shots here, when he came out, those front shots, this can hang with anybody in the world. These shots in the front and that crab and stuff like that. These arms are just crazy. I was very impressed with the most by his arms. His arms showed me that he's on a world-class level with those arms.
No.
The front, wait, boy. The front,
One more time. Suck in the face.
the front right here with the lats, that's got to come up. That's got to come up, Chriso. It's got to come up. This is going to kill you and anyone can take you out when it looks like you got like baby little lats from the front. You got to build that up. You can still bring them down a little bit. Get those pullovers involved. Pullovers. Get that back, the bent over rows. Do it all day. Do it a few times a week. Whatever you got to do. Go ahead.
A judge's feedback.
So Chris is right. Rarely he is right, but this time he is. The arms are awesome. We love the arms. Who doesn't love the arms? But it's the same issue with Ramon Dino. If you have big arms, they might overpower your physique, and they kind of make the lats look small, even the shoulders. What he needs to do, like Chris said, if he has more back, that's going to make the waist small, right? Because there's going to be that illusion that the V-taper is better. In addition to that, the arms are not going to overpower the entire upper frame as it's doing right here. But again, if this guy has those lats, what are you looking at? You're looking at a complete freak from the front. There's nothing missing. It's just the lats here, and this guy cannot lose that pose to anybody. He's going to overpower everybody.
And slightly better conditioning along the top, but then Chris, you talk a lot about that teardrop not coming down. This is past his knee. And that's just freakish to be that low and that stride and long.
Yeah, his bringing his body along, and he's improved. He's improved his posing, even though when he first came into the league, posing was just a disaster. And I think people like Trigilli and people like that are poking at him about his posing. I feel like he is listening to people that can put him in the right direction as far as some of these poses. But like I said, when he was there, when he hit that crab at the press conference, that damn thing was like remarkable.
It's the lats.
Oh, yeah.
Once he has lats, his entire back, his entire physique is going to change.
Paper thin right there.
Look at this here. We could be a little bit more conditioned here. It looks like he has a film of water, right? And you got, one of the things is he could also have more glutes. It looks like the hamstrings and the quads are huge, but the glutes could be a little bit bigger. It's a little bit underdeveloped. We're looking at everything here. We're not just looking at the hamstrings and the quads, but if the glutes were a little bit bigger, it gives them even more density on the lower half.
Now, I would pay attention to the whole backside. The whole backside can need some work.
Speaking of things way in the back, I can't reach it. Wish I had a poker. That back shoulder shows how massive his delts are. Look at it peeking up over the top of that pec as he goes into that side chest.
Yeah, I put his shoulders and arms up against probably anybody in the league. That he is something to work. Some piece of work up there with with those arms. When he came out with the press conference with, I was just like, damn, that boy is work. He is way bigger than what I thought he was going to be.
Aaron, let's roll a little bit more because we're going to get to the back. And you see, it could be a little bit tighter.
Not horrible.
Could be a little bit tighter. Okay.
Yeah, for sure.
Now, he's got the legs.
See, that just needs some. Go up a little bit more.
That's it. Hold it.
And leaning back too far, man, you taking yourself out of it. Look at the whole right side. Is way less developed than the left side. Go up a little bit more. I think you can show a little bit more. I gotta give him his due.
Hold it. Yeah.
That's what you're showing us, dog. That's what you're showing.
So
come on, man.
So he needs to have. I don't even think it's just conditioning here. It's literally a little bit of lack of muscle. So when you don't have a lot of muscle there, then you don't have separation, even if you're conditioned. So this guy, he needs to go back to the drawing board on the back, because once he has a back, everything will change about him. He will become complete.
So, like you said, since he's probably taking notes right now, he's got a translator saying, what did Chris say? Pullovers, low rows, single arm rows, bent over rows,
and
row your boat.
Just do it to death, man.
What he shouldn't do on his back, Chris,
is pinning it up. Don't think you're gonna get there by taking shortcuts. It's not a shortcut thing. It's gonna take you a few months. Don't try to take shortcuts by just pinning, sticking everything in your back.
Pinning what?
pinning some type of Nola till or whatever you're doing. But whatever it is, I'm telling you, that's not the way to go, because you will ruin your whole career and you will be out of the top 10.
So as we come into a wrap, he's got a lot of ways that he can improve. He brought an amazing debut. You know, for a guy that literally 3 months before the Olympia qualified. No, 3 months he got his pro
Even
card.
right here.
And
stop right there.
Oh, look at that.
Okay, but if you turn these hands around and interlock 4 fingers, Crizo, lock that wrist down, that's going to make all of this look fuller. Okay, this is behind your back. That's not going to help you in that pose. You can make that pose even way better. Just picture from the elbow to the wrist out here on top, in front of that hip more. And then you could turn your body a little bit more to the crowd. That, Crizo, will bring you big time points.
But
right?
you know, look, if he's a little bit more conditioned, look at the side triceps. Tell me one bodybuilder, you know, I would say only Nick Walker at this point could hang with him on a side triceps. This is incredible mass, incredible arm, shoulder, and even the chest is hanging. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
he can feed Wisconsin with those tits.
Well, and
But if you bring that arm closer to the crowd, that's a whole nother dimension that you're not taking advantage of.
And I'm a little jealous with those traps that he doesn't need a neck pillow when he flies. He'd just go right to sleep on those things, left side, right side, back. They're massive traps.
And don't forget about those abs. The abs are more developed here. That just makes him a bodybuilder more complete.
But he's tight.
He's
got no Ninja Turtle belly going on.
Good.
He's all dialed in. He doesn't have to control his breathing.
Just build it.
Well, let's take a seat here, gents. And so we've got a lot of guys that made great debuts, a lot of guys that have the potential, that are younger. Here's this guy that's really learning to dial himself in at the next level with a greater quality. I mean, I'm trying to think of ways to liken it without belittling like football leagues. But really, the IFBB Pro League is that level that when you've leveled up from even a pro league somewhere else, you've got a level of competitors that is just, it's like nothing else.
You're the best of the best.
You're best of the best.
Best of the best. That's where you want to be, the best of the best, right?
And that was what he said. He said, I didn't want to compete against, just random people anymore.
I just liked the way he was poking at the guys when he was over in the other league about, who's the best in the world, no matter what. But he wanted to come. I knew he wanted to come over here a long time ago. I'm just glad he did, and then now we can see.
We got to give credit because he was winning everything with the other organization. But as a great competitor, it's not enough to win. You need to know deep inside of you that you're beating the best of the best. And he challenged himself. He said, okay, I'm going to go there. I'm going to try to make it to the Olympia. And he did make it to the Olympia, and he put on a show with his size. This guy, I think he's fairly young, really nice guy. I had a chance to communicate with him. And I think he's also in the bus with Andrew Jack, with Derek Lunsford, Nick Walker, and he's going to be here for a long time. He can make a statement.
Well, we love your thoughts on this. Of course, it's all supposition until we get on stage to beat everybody else, to qualify, to make it to the big pro show, the big show in November of this year in beautiful Orlando, Florida. But give us your thoughts on Michael Crizo, Andrew Jack, the future of Derek Lunsford, Nick Walker. Tell us your favorites. Like, subscribe, comment. As always, talk about these two amazing gentlemen. The one and only real deal, Chris Cormier.
Thank you.
Terrick Gilgindi.
See you guys.
For Primetime Muscle, I'm Tim Wilkins. Thanks for joining. We'll see you next time.